Hi, I'm Susan, and again today I'm going to pull out a painting that was kind of a fail. Uh, my friends and I call these paintings that don't quite get where you want them to go. We refer to them as dogs. So today I'm going to pull out another dog, and because of the colors that I used, months ago when I started this painting, because of the colors that I got started with, I pulled out a photo of another painting and I'll pop a screenshot of this painting. I loved this abstract back when I painted it. I'll pop it in here shortly and show it to you. But it's my inspiration. I didn't want to do a painting that was real tight. I wanted to leave it fairly loosely rendered and have some fun with it. And I appreciate your joining me as we crack another dog into shape. So here is the what I call dog. This painting, I think I was using up some paints that were on my palette from some bigger pieces, and this is the inspiration piece. This is a fairly large painting. I loved the abstraction. It seemed to go well. So, this was a start some months ago, and I decided to kind of aim for the energy that this painting in my photo had going. And I'm using Nova paints today. I am using a dioxazine violet, which is that deep, deep purple that I had in the other painting. My idea here is to have some larger shapes. I'm just intuitively painting some large dark shapes, which seemed to help strengthen the large painting in the photo. And I wanted some darks, and I love this purple against the greens, this dioxazine purple, one of my favorite combinations, green and purple. I realize that when I'm painting like this, I may be getting rid of some areas that maybe I'll wish I had. But the fun thing about using acrylics is that you can always put them back. I try to photograph my dogs, if you were. I try to take a picture of my paintings before I get started and then look back at them and see if there's something that strikes my eye that I want to put back in. But for now, I'm looking at this as another layer, and I wanted a dark layer back there, which in the end will pop the bright colors. When I started today, my background was very mid-tone, mid-values. I'm trying to get rid of some shiny, my lights are picking up the sheen in the wet paint, and I apologize for that. But I have several light sources, the sunlight and various lights in my studio, and when the paint is wet, it picks up the sheen. I will keep moving the painting around so that it can be seen better. Again, I'm putting in some darks. Although this is on watercolor paper, this is on 300-pound watercolor paper, it's a block of paper, I may end up varnishing this because I really love the way that a gloss varnish layer will, once the colors are dry, especially the dark colors, I really like how varnish will make them rich, almost like they are when they're wet. And then I don't always leave them shiny, glossy, but I do like to put a gloss layer on, and then I can decide after that gloss layer what sheen I prefer. Sometimes I like a matte finish, but as long as that initial gloss varnish layer is down there, those colors will always be vibrant, the dark colors. The light colors and the medium values pretty much stay true to color. They stay vibrant, they might darken a little bit, but oftentimes these darks will kind of die away when they dry, so I do like to varnish them. So I'm working my way toward some light shades now. I'll be adding some white to my purples. I have some quinacridone violet on there as well as the dioxazine. So I'm putting some medium violets, I would say, in there. This is just entirely what do I feel like plopping in. There's no real plan. I love to paint this way. If I don't solve all the problems, as in describe every single little nuance of stem and leaf and flower, if I just give impressions of them, I leave it up to the viewer to do some work, and I leave it up to the viewer to use their imagination. Oh, I wonder if this is a flower, if this is a bud. I like any excuse to use these colors anyway. I just love all of these beautiful purples and lavenders, pinks and greens. Sometimes I speed up my paintings for YouTube videos. I will speed it up, and in this particular video I'm not speeding it up, so I'm going to allow you the option of going to settings and choosing whether you want to speed it up or not. If you go to the little gear it's either the top or bottom corner of your screen, you can change the speed of a video and get through it much quicker. But in this case, I wanted you to see in real time sort of how contemplative this process is. That is some lively color popped in there. I'm using magenta. I love magenta. And in this case, Nova Color makes a beautiful magenta. I like to blend the dioxazine purple with the magenta. It's just a lovely combination. So I'm pulling out a sample of all of my Nova colors, or at least some of them, so that I can make a decision about which colors I want to add to the palette. And how they mix together. This is a good idea to create a color chart for yourself of what the paints actually look like on paper. Then you can make an educated decision about colors that you wish to add. I'm getting rid of some paint here on my brush and adding more magenta. I do like my magenta. I'm adding it into the dioxazine purple. Magenta is transparent enough that it shows the dark through it, but it really enriches it. I find the color combination really exciting. Now I'm starting to pick up some white. I like to twist my brush around and see what different marks any given tool, any given brush can make. Usually every brush has a whole myriad of marks that they're capable of. And this is a chance to explore that. I have nothing to lose when I'm painting on these dogs. I mean, worst case scenario, I've learned a lot by playing with color on these paintings. And, worst case scenario, at the end, it turns out badly and I throw away a piece of paper. But I learned so much with this practice. I can't recommend it highly enough. Indian yellow, I think, is a nice complement to the purples. So I had a little bit of that going on. I had some dark yellow going on in the original painting. I'm not sure just what color that was, but I'm adding a few little dots and dashes of Indian yellow just to enhance this. Putting it in various corners of the painting. Moving the color around. When I turn it, I look at it in a new vantage point, which is helpful when I make decisions about what to add, what to take away. In this version, I'm laying in some larger forms, as I said, but I know that this is just another layer, and I can add layers on top of these forms as I want to. When I paint a painting that gives me a feeling of looking through a garden, being at eye level with the flowers or plants, I think about looking through the stems and branches and leaves and flowers. I love that immerse myself in the garden feeling, and that's what I'm after in a lot of my floral paintings. You might wonder why I'm painting around my palette like this. I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. I'm getting rid of the paint off of my brush so that I can pick up more paint and, maybe switch colors as I continue without having to wash a lot of that paint down the drain. And eventually, believe it or not, I will be using the paper from this palette. It's just deli paper, and I will be using this paper in collage work. So whenever I have leftover paint now, I usually paint paper with it. You'll see me doing that a little bit later in this video. I'll be painting papers with the leftover paint because I'm really crazy about collage, tearing up or cutting up papers and using them in various ways. So here I am filling a piece of printer paper with paint that I have left over on my brush. I don't know whether I'll use this page to do a jelly print. I've been doing a lot of jelly printing lately for collage, or just use it as is for collage. I have quite a collection of papers now. And to me, it's much better to have painted that paper full of color. It's just printer paper. I buy it by 500 sheets. So now I have a piece of paper I can collage with. I'm continuing with my dioxazine purple to create larger forms. As you can see in the photo below, I felt like the large area, dark areas helped to pop the color in the original painting, so I'm going for that in this one as well. Continuing to add the darks. I want to add enough of the dark areas so that it balances against all of the small colorful forms. Continuing to turn it around so that I can get a different vantage point. There's a lot going on here in the bottom of the painting and not very much at the top. I apologize for the glare. Zooming out so that you can see better and the whole piece. Taking one more look at the painting inspiration. I'm getting rid of some paint off of my brush. I'm going to continue to be painting in this same color family, so I'm not going to wash this brush. I just don't like dumping more more paint water down the drain than I have to. And I also appreciate having the papers. So I've added some greens to my palette, a couple of greens. Nova Paint puts out a deep green, which is one of my favorites. It's as dark and rich as the dioxazine is dark, rich purple. This green is just so lovely. So again, I'm adding some darks in the green family. I also added a little bit of chromium oxide green. You can't really see it on my palette very well, but the two of them combined really add some richness. I'm cutting in so that I'm leaving maybe some impressions of stems. The flat brush is nice to use for cutting around shapes. At this point, I've decided to speed up the video because I feel like you have been told the idea, the inspiration, but at this point, I'm speeding it up just a little bit so that I can keep this video approximately 30 minutes. As I continue to build around these flower shapes, cutting in and creating interesting shapes, interesting to me anyway. So as I finish, put my brushes down, I examine the painting to see which way seems to be up, which is the bottom, which is the top. And I think I've decided, and so I don't second guess myself, and so that I declare this painting finished, I'm going to add my signature. I have a long name, Giannantonio, but I'm accustomed to painting it on there or drawing it on there. I use a small rigger brush. It doesn't have to be perfect. And there we have it. I'll drop in a before and after. And I want to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you'd like to see more of my work as I continue going through my dogs and presenting other videos. Thank you for joining me.